from our entire ministry, from Bunge, good morning. Good morning. I feel very privileged to be here today to talk about the role of Parliament in advancing Kenya's foreign policy, Kenyan foreign policy agenda, a really important issue and something we have discussed both within our offices, on the streets, in the media, and often, as Waziri has discussed it during Parliament meetings. We have at length discussed what Bunge can help us in understanding and explaining the role that this ministry plays across the country and to the population and so on. So this is a really important conversation, and I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the State Department for Foreign Affairs, both for organizing and for convening us here, but also for giving us an opportunity to ventilate things that we usually don't have an opportunity to ventilate with our various stakeholders. As you know, by now, our foreign policy really is underpinned by the steadfast commitment to project, promote, and protect the country's interests across the globe. The one interest that I am more concerned about than others is our nationals outside of this country. And as you're aware, the diaspora pillar, but I'm aware we're now using language like themes within the review process of this policy. The diaspora pillar has been one of the 5 core pillars that have guided our foreign policy work and our engagement strategy, and it really underscores our commitment to support, protect, empower, and prosper our diaspora. Our diaspora, as you're aware, now numbers something close to 4 million Kenyans living abroad. That's a huge number. That's 8% of our entire population. That is larger than the city of Nairobi during the day. As we all know, the city of Nairobi has 2 populations, the daytime population, which is all of us as we come in from our various neighborhoods, and the nighttime population, which is a little bit smaller. And as you're aware, also we have, as an administration, taken a particular interest in ensuring that our work with the diaspora is both strategic and supportive, that we have been set up to structure our response and support to the diaspora. Perhaps one other number that I have spoken to Bunge about often is an important number, is a $4.2 billion number, which is the remittances that we receive from our diaspora every year. Last year was 4.2 billion, and this year we are looking at closing at a much higher number than that. The reason I mention this is to underscore the importance of this group of people who, through small ticket sizes, sending home a little bit of money to support their families, a little bit of money to help pay for a burial and so on, have surpassed foreign exchange earnings from coffee, from tea, from tourism, from horticulture, and so on. So this is a critical a group, and that we are working on supporting. A policy-driven approach, of course, is critical. It allows us to bring together our thoughts and to interrogate them, and to socialize them to colleagues across government and across other stakeholders. The review, therefore, of this foreign policy allows us to sit back and ask ourselves important questions. And I'm grateful that part of this engagement is sitting down with Bunge, not just to explain what this foreign policy is, but to hear, especially from Bunge as representatives of the people, what does this foreign policy mean? What is the language that makes sense to the people of Kenya on the ground? And how can Parliament, particularly this committee that oversights this ministry and that is involved in budgeting processes for this ministry, do more to help Kenya project, to help this ministry to project and promote Kenya's national interests? I don't want to say much, colleagues, but allow me to say this. Over the 23 months that we've had a State Department for Diaspora Affairs, we've had quite some successes. And as you're also aware, we've been in the process of reviewing the diaspora policy and engaging through the Mobile Consular Services program, as you're aware, where we have now reached 175 cities across the world serving diasporians. We have seen diaspora beginning to reconnect with their motherhood. As we have worked hard to repatriate distressed citizens, and as you're aware, we are currently in the middle of an evacuation out of Lebanon, where at the beginning of August we had 26,000 Kenyans in Lebanon and have continued to evacuate with numbers coming in, including this morning and yesterday morning, and I believe we're expecting something like 200 in the next 1 week. And this has continued to address and bridge the trust deficit that we have seen in the past between the diaspora and the government. And we have made other strides, and perhaps because of the moment that we are living in, allow me to say that part of the work that we have done is setting up a 24-hour emergency response center that is currently addressing the Lebanon crisis. These engagements, among others, reflect our commitment to diaspora welfare, security, and contribution to Kenya's economic growth. But I want to say very quickly 3 things. One, as we look at the diaspora and as we look at the foreign policy in particular, what I believe some of the things that this particular committee can begin to help us do is to think about crafting legislative measures to safeguard not just the entire foreign policy space, but diaspora rights, including the protection of diaspora investments as we secure the diaspora pillar within the foreign policy or the diaspora theme. I think by the end of the exercise, you will tell us what language we will be using. Diaspora property rights are one of the things that keep coming up whenever we have conversations around diaspora investment. And I think we all know stories of diaspora who have invested back home and lost property, usually not to thieves, but usually to family. Our citizens abroad encounter various challenges while investing in Kenya, and these protection measures that I'm speaking about are one of the things that would be very, very critical. The second thing is, as you're aware, and I'm sure Waziri will speak about this at length, is a sessional paper that will be coming to Bunge on this particular foreign policy. Again, the dream being to open the doors of this ministry and allow Kenyans to have a deeper interaction, or if you might like, to democratize foreign policy. I'm aware that later this month or early in December, when we're having our big week, one of the things that this ministry will be doing is an open day, which I really want to congratulate the leadership for thinking about, because this is going to allow regular Kenyans, wananchi, to walk in and actually understand, what does this ministry do? As you all might know, many do have many questions about what does foreign affairs do? And I know you've all been on the receiving end of kazi yenu ni kupanda ndege na kwenda majuu and to chew taxpayers' money. So it's a wonderful initiative to be able to expose Kenyans to what we do, but importantly, within this process, then it is for Bunge to help us really democratize that foreign policy and to have Kenyans begin to understand and own the foreign policy. The third thing I want to say, excuse me. I'm sorry. The third thing I want to say, thank you. The third thing I want to say is that one of the things that I believe Bunge is going to be very helpful for us in doing, coming out of this engagement and going forward, is really help us, help this ministry and help Bunge understand our budgeting processes and our priorities as a nation. What are the things that this ministry is trying to do for the people of Kenya. Sometimes I am concerned about how we report success as far as, for example, the State Department for Foreign Affairs is concerned. Other ministries report success by number of roads built, or hospitals built, or clients served. But this ministry is a facilitatory ministry. If there has been a big environment conference, it is because Foreign Affairs was at the forefront of that and made it happen. If we have a trade agreement signed, it is not purely the work of the Ministry of Trade, it is because this ministry has facilitated it. So I think one of the things, Honorable Chair and your committee, that we're really going to see and hope to see your support on is in a proper understanding of the importance of this ministry really in safeguarding, projecting and promoting Kenya's interests, and therefore understanding a way to better budget and allocate resources to this ministry. Allow me to end there. I see Waziri has stepped out shortly, but allow me to end there by thanking you once again for having us here, for giving us an opportunity to say a little bit about the Kenyan foreign policy and our thoughts on what we can do together. And to thank once again Honorable Chair Koech and your committee members, our dear friends, for your unwavering commitment to strengthening Kenya's global standing and to working with us in this ministry as we deliver the work that we absolutely must do. Asanteni sana.
Let's give PS another round of applause, please. That was a very good pitching from the PS. So with that, I want to invite our PS from State Department for Parliamentary Affairs, Aurelia Ronald, to give her remarks. She did another escort. Escort of honor.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you very much. His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, the Chairperson, National Assembly Departmental Committee on Defense, Honorable Committee members present here today, colleague, Principal Secretary, State Department for Diaspora Affairs, who's my very, very good friend, invited guest, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. Is it a good morning? Yes, it is. I'm so honored to join His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary, my colleague, the Departmental Committee, and all of us this morning, and the entire team of the State Department for Foreign Affairs in this breakfast roundtable on the very important matter that has been clearly articulated by my friend, PS Diaspora Affairs, that is the review of the Kenya's foreign policy. I'm pleased to note that I'm not only joining the Foreign Affairs team in my capacity as the Principal Secretary for Parliamentary Affairs, but also on the account of the fact that we are three siblings that share a home in the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. That is the State Department for Foreign Affairs, the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, and the State Department for Parliamentary Affairs. You see, it's all about affairs. We are actually the enablers of the other ministries and state departments to function. This shared home, ladies and gentlemen, serves as a one-stop shop that supports the Prime Cabinet Secretary in his dual mandate. First, as an assistant to the presidency in the coordination and supervision of government, which includes, amongst other things, the coordination of the government legislative agenda and parliamentary liaison, and secondly, his mandate as Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, and by this, the head of Kenya's Foreign Service. As the head of Kenya's Foreign Service, the Prime Cabinet Secretary is in charge of the transformative duty of recalibrating Kenya's foreign relations on a number of fronts. This includes the implementation of the labor migration policy as a key pillar of Kenya's foreign policy, deepening of Kenya's diplomatic and economic partnership, as well as opening a new chapter of Kenya's relation with its diaspora community worldwide. It is in this line, ladies and gentlemen, with this transformative duty that the State Department for Foreign Affairs has marked the review of the current foreign policy as a key deliverable of its legislative agenda. At this juncture, I wish to note various legislative strides that we have made as the executive on the labor migration space. Firstly, the labor migration policy is already in Parliament for consideration as session of paper number 5 of 2023, while the executive's labor migration and management bill shall be introduced to Parliament very soon. I believe those two legislative initiatives are very key, even as we work on this policy, foreign policy. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is an anchor state to the international community, as well as our regional brothers and sisters. It therefore remains a commitment of this administration to see to it that Kenya is respected and valued abroad. We also remain alive to our manifesto commitments in a number of foreign policy fronts, which include leveraging our international engagements to create opportunities for our people, supporting the work and decisions of international organizations that Kenya has joined or ratified, deepening our bonds with our long-standing international and bilateral partners, and extending our friendship to anyone with whom we believe a mutually beneficial relationship can be formed. I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that the reviewed foreign policy embodies the necessary foundation from which we shall collectively reimagine the foreign policy of the 21st century. I know that this committee, the Departmental Committee on Defense, plays a very key role in supporting the development of this policy. The shaping of, they actually shape the development of this policy. They support in legislating or supporting the improvement, the approval of that policy, and you play a key role in oversighting to ensure that the implementation actually meets the intended purpose. You also play a very key role in resourcing the State Department to be able to implement the policy. And I therefore really wish to request the Committee on Defense, led by the able chair, Honorable Nelson Koech, to support the shaping, the implementation, and the resourcing of the State Department to be able to implement the policy, the Kenya's foreign policy. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not end without really talking about, I've mentioned briefly about what we do as a State Department for Parliamentary Affairs. We play a very key role in coordinating the flow of legislative initiatives across the executive. As we talk here, committee, the honorable members of the committee, we had a repository of all the legislative initiatives. When I say that, I mean the policies, the legislative proposals, and the regulations that the entire executive, ministries, departments, and agencies are working on to ensure the delivery or the achievements of the objectives of our government. And therefore, on top of that, to give a few, I've said we are the repository, we have that. You can get that in our website. And we also have what's called a public policy handbook that is ensuring that there's standardization and uniformity in the development of government policies. There is a clear guideline on the development of government policies and legislation. All those are found in our website. And this is a State Department that is also very, very young. Actually, it's younger than Diaspora Affairs, but we've actually done a lot with the support of His Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. I therefore wish to end my remarks by beseeching this esteemed committee to note the policy review as a matter of the high priority and extend the State Department for Foreign Affairs the support and accommodation necessary to make the proposed policy a reality. I thank you.
Let's appreciate the PS once again. So thank you so much, PS, for those remarks. So with that, now it's my honor to invite the Chair of Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee, Honorable Nelson Koech, to address us this morning. Mheshimiwa, karibu.
Asante sana. Our PCS and also the Acting Minister for Interior. First of all, congratulations for having all those positions. We pray that you can hold the two of them if you can manage, because you are equal to the task. Our PSS, the two PSS who are here, the PS Diaspora Affairs, Madam Roslyn Jogu, I won't call you Mr. Ngeno, and our PS Aurelia Rono for Parliamentary Affairs, the entire Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs who are here with us this morning, and my colleagues, members of Parliament, good morning. Distinguished guests, from the onset, let me start today's meeting. Underscores our shared commitment to elevating Kenya's foreign policy in a time of unprecedented shifts at the global stage. Indeed, I must commend the Ministry for its foresight in reviewing our foreign policy document. In fact, before we started this meeting, I was seated with Honorable Bashir and Honorable Caleb Amisi. Myself and Honorable Caleb Amisi are now students of international relations. And when you look at our foreign policy, it's quite old. And it actually did and does need a review. And we're looking at the 5 pillars of the foreign policy. And with that one, we will discuss with honorable colleagues. And just for the benefit of honorable colleagues also, I think it will be important if a presentation, even beyond here, can be done for members of Parliament to understand what foreign policy does mean and what it entails. And you know, what it is going to involve in making sure that our foreign policy having more diplomatic footprint. What is your plan for having more diplomatic footprint, and so on and so forth. This will ensure we operate within the framework that is not only relevant but also effective in promoting our national interest across the globe. The Parliamentary Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations oversights, among others, the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. It is within this context that we have convened here with the aim of fostering a robust, responsive, and strategic policy that serves Kenya's national interest and global aspirations. This session reaffirms the importance of collaboration between Parliament and the Ministry, a relationship that strengthens the bridge between our domestic priorities and international commitments. In an increasingly interconnected world, our nation nation's interests are closely linked to international issues. Traditionally, foreign policy has been a core function of the executive. However, as the global challenges grow in complexity, the role of Parliament in foreign affairs has become more critical, complementing the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs by offering additional channels for dialogue and engagement with the global community. We have a team that is departing tonight for UAE, Qatar and UAE. And many times when you're out there, it is important that Parliament also is able to amplify your position as a Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Even though we oversight you, sometimes we have to step in because we are the sons and daughters of this nation to make sure that we align members of Parliament as well to be the ones also amplifying the position of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs when we travel to do the oversight and we meet Kenyans out there and other people. The National Assembly has recognized the importance of parliamentary diplomacy and has actively participated in multilateral forums such as the Interparliamentary Union, that is IPU, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and the Pan-African Parliament. Through these institutions, the national, in fact, there is a protocol that we are dealing with now in Parliament that I just suspended the final vote because it was necessary to engage further. And in fact, the ball has been thrown back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that you continue engaging with other parliaments within the region to understand, because there's a protocol that is being established and it is conflicting with many other countries. And many other countries have not signed into that protocol for reasons that has been shared. I will not want to share here, but for reasons that are very important. So I was to have I requested the Speaker to suspend the final vote so that we could further engage and find a way of enriching that protocol as had been requested by members who were in Pan-African Parliament. Through these institutions, the National Assembly has promoted Kenya's commitment to the democracy, human rights, and international cooperation, particularly on pressing issues like trade, climate change, security, and development. Unlike traditional diplomacy, which operates within the formalized structures of government, parliamentary diplomacy is often formal yet grounded in democratic legitimacy and openness. As elected representatives of the people, members of Parliament contribute a dimension of trust and inclusivity to foreign policy dialogues, fostering relationships that are both genuine and enduring. Despite the demonstrated value, the potential of parliamentary diplomacy remains largely untapped in Kenya. Our Constitution positions Parliament as a representative institution, yet parliamentary diplomacy is not fully integrated into our formal foreign policy framework. In addressing today's agenda, it is essential to emphasize the opportunities that lie ahead if we harness parliamentary diplomacy effectively. First, we need to develop a structured plan for parliamentary engagement abroad, ensuring that they align Kenya's national interest. Precisely what I was saying earlier. It is important that members of Parliament understand our structure, our foreign policy structures, so that they are fully aligned even when we are abroad. Secondly, we should strive to build a consensus within Parliament on key international issues, thereby reinforcing our credibility and unity on the world stage. Thirdly, we should consider formalizing guidelines to support members of Parliament in representing Kenya overseas, ensuring that our engagements are consistent, impactful, and reflective of Kenya's priorities and values. Therefore, Honorable PCS, today's session provides an invaluable opportunity to strengthen the synergy between Parliament and the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, allowing us to approach foreign policy as a unified and cohesive front, as we seek to deliberate and review the foreign policy document that has provided framework for our global engagement since it was published 10 years ago. I wish all of us a fruitful deliberation. As I conclude, Honorable, this is off the cuff. Why it is also important, and Honorable PCS, and I think PS Diaspora is equally aware, you will remember we resisted a policy where you had wanted to directly engage with diplomats And you remember we were very firm as a committee, and we invited Honorable Mutua, and we resisted that attempt. And I'm lucky when you've come in, Honorable PCS, you have realigned and has taken back the mandate, making sure that Ministry of Foreign Affairs, its core mandate of making sure that they are the first contact with our diplomats is sustained. We want to celebrate that. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Allow me to introduce my colleagues who are here with us this morning. I'll start with my able vice chairman. He's a retired major, but not tired. Major Bashir, Sheikh Abdullahi Bashir. Then we have Honorable Fred Ikana. We have the most senior member of this committee and also a former diplomat, Member of Parliament Kamkunji, Honorable Yusuf. He has a fracture, I'm sure I will not understand. We have Honorable Kandie from Baringo. And then we have Honorable Abdikadir. We also have our parliamentary staff, if you can all stand. Dennis and your team. That is a team that is our clerk, those and the fiscal analyst. We have, this is all our parliamentary. A round of applause for them. And then more members are joining us. Mnajua wanasiasa. Kiambiwa saa mbili ni saa nne. Thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let's acknowledge Honorable Chairman once again. So thank you very much. And I think we are lucky to have a chair who is studying international relations, and also Honorable Kalebamisi as well. So I believe we'll have a very good engagement when it will come to the plenary with that kind of composition and mix in terms of the skill mix. So with that, I want to take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest for today, and I want to request that we all be up and standing. Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, to give his remarks.
Okay, tafadhali, please be seated. Chairman, Honorable Nelson Koech, and all your committee members present, the members of Parliament, for this very important committee. My colleagues in the executive, both the two PSs here, and our top officials in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Hamjambo. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Now, my first comment is to really thank the chair of the Honorable Nelson Koech and your teams for being here this morning so that we can have dialogue on this very important issue. The ministry started the journey of reviewing its foreign policy mid this year, and there have been a series of engagements with the different stakeholders. For instance, yesterday we had an opportunity to engage with the Council of Governors. Today we are engaging with yourselves, and there are others that are lined up and others that have also been approached and talked to. I'm sure when the presentation is made of the roadmap to this process, you will get a better picture. Now, the issue I want to put across to you is what aren't we doing right? You know, I think these are just the basic questions that you can help us answer. What aren't we doing right? What do you think we should do? You have hinted that there are issues that through your studies, you're noticing gaps that may be impeding our ability to engage appropriately. So this is where we would want to draw from your observations as much as possible. We are here this morning, and there is a change of government in the US where there's a new president, and we all know that since 1964, for instance, we have been engaging with the United States. But different issues have emerged over time. So we will now be looking at how do we continue to further our national interest as we operate in an environment where there's that. Of course, there are many changes. Half the world was going into election this year, as you may have noticed. But where does Kenya stand as we move forward? What are the things that we need to pivot? What are the things we need to be focused on? What are the pillars, if we may not use the word pillar, what is our North Star? In all these things, what is our North Star when we are talking about our foreign policy? There are tough questions that we want you to help us. Budgetary-wise, how can you help us to strengthen our position? Is it that we have not been giving you sufficient information to help us obtain the necessary resourcing from Parliament? We would be looking forward to your advice on issues of how do we realize our assets globally, because we have assets globally, but are we getting the best value for them? These are factors that I think you would really help us as Parliament so that we work together on some of these things. Sometimes Parliament or the public is consumed with the vetting of ambassadors, to the extent that the ordinary person sometimes just thinks that the job of that committee is going to be vetting ambassadors, because it's perhaps the most visible moment when you're emerging out of an election, or you're just about to have new representatives, and then focus is on you. But I'm sure we all know that it goes beyond. In fact, that is a very minuscule aspect of your responsibilities. But how can we move forward more appropriately? You've talked a lot about the parliamentary democracy, the other institutions that we engage with. Let us see how we can consolidate that even more as we go forward. Then there's the other aspect. Fundamentally, why do we engage? Is because we really want to have a strong partnership, and we want to bring benefits to the people of Kenya. So economic diplomacy becomes very, very essential. We are a free market economy as Kenya. And if we are a free market economy, how does that thread move into our foreign policy? Because you and I, that is the committee, and ourselves, we have this challenge of how do we get foreign direct investment coming into Kenya and benefiting Kenya. So through our policies around here, sometimes we need to be very careful because we want to be able to project a nation that is clear on its economic policy, but also a nation that focuses on what is right, where do we stand on human rights, where do we stand on democratic principles. Sometimes the government of Kenya is a beneficiary of support through bursaries. Have we, over the years, in our policy, have we defined how we can make sure that there's equity in the allocation of these opportunities to Kenyans, so that we are not accused that Musalia, sitting at the headquarters, is doling out scholarships behind the tent. So what are the issues that we want to bring, so that we also bring transparency around our engagement with the foreign friends, but also connecting with our people? You will recall that during the Gen Z, there was this question that came out, that why does a president travel? What is he going to do? How is it benefiting us? So we need to figure out, can we answer some of these questions by having a more inclusive policy orientation, where people can see meaning and value in the engagements that we are having with our people. Why do we join other entities? Why, what is BRICS? What does it mean to us? Okay. What is the G20? What does it mean to us as a people? What is the G7? What is our role in multilateralism? We want to pursue and make Kenya an international hub for multilateralism. We are lucky. We have the former station of Mheshimiwa there, Hassan, the UNEP, they're here. Habitat is here. And other entities are craving to come here. So we need to ask ourselves, is it of value to us when we have these international entities joining us? Right now, for instance, outside Washington, the largest World Bank hub is now in Nairobi. The largest. Outside Washington, D.C. So the World Bank here, becoming the hub for, and they are talking to us, I'm sure my colleagues know, because they also want us to engage a little further so that we can consolidate their position as a hub in Kenya. And therefore, that calls for a partnership on how we look at the host country agreements and how we partner with Parliament to support us in this. Because you can imagine if you heard that they now want to shift their hub to another area. I think we would be failing the Kenyans if we lost the World Bank as a hub, the largest outside the United States, globally rather. No? So these are very, very important issues. And what are the benefits? These people are paid in forex, foreign currency. We need foreign currency here. We need expertise to grow here. We need that to filter back into our arrangements. We have a demography that is youthful. Median age, as we all know, we are 20 for Kenya. 19.6, that's the median age. So what do we project? We project a vibrant society. We project a society where consumption is also going to be high. But we also see a society where jobs are going to be very critical for people to be stable and so forth. How do we convert these seemingly difficult situations into opportunities for the people of Kenya through our foreign policy? We have to answer these questions so that we embed them in our policy. We have to even engage faith-based entities because they can be very strong in matters of humanitarian, mediation, and so forth. We need your help. That is why we are calling you here. That is why sometimes they say there's no free lunch. We also want to say there's no free breakfast. Because we want your committee to help us really come up with a comprehensive strategy which will help Kenyans feel proud of their foreign policy. So that if somebody walks out of here, as you have said, members of Parliament, we are not talking at cross purposes. We may have our local competition here, opposition and non-opposition. But surely, when we get out there, we are Kenyans. We are one people. So we can't be seen to be taking our localized politics to those places. So these are the fundamental issues that I really wanted to say that we want your help. Last time I was in Parliament, I think Njogu was there, and the Honorable Mungatana raised one question. And I was actually trembling in my heart that I hope he doesn't pursue this matter. Because he said, he asked the question, Mheshimiwa, nataka uniambie katika hiyo wizara yako, mission zako, ni watu wa Tana River ni wangapi ambao wako kwa missions? So of course I wriggled around kidogo, and he didn't press the pedal further. I was very relieved. You know, but the message he was asking is, when you say it's Kenya's foreign policy, is the deployment of the personnel in the foreign service reflective of that Kenyan foreign policy? Are we being fair when we look at ourselves, when we look at the deployment? These are fundamental issues that we must clear. And we clear by having coherent and objective policy positions on this matter. And that is why I have been insisting that we really must domesticate our foreign policy to get a better buy-in. We have a situation where the challenges of our employees, our officers, men and women, and they're very patriotic, I must admit, because sometimes we deploy them, but we have not taken proper account of the consumer price index in those different countries. We make it look like it is just a unilateral engagement. So I must commend these officers. They've stood out, but sometimes it is extremely difficult because we have not resourced them appropriately. They have families, they have children who must go to school. But have we done justice to them with the policy position that we have been maintaining, which we have been perhaps being hesitant to address and to confront? I want us to confront that so that in our policy position we change things. We have a situation where we must balance. New blood is good, but what are we doing to the professional diplomats in our system? What are we doing to them? A young cadet who joins Foreign Affairs has one ambition. One day, I want to be an ambassador. He or she slogs every morning, every evening, because they want that. Then from somewhere, Mudavadi comes in, kutoka Mululu. And then the next thing, I overlook all these career diplomats and I just load the place with people who have never been in the system. So what are we doing to our foreign service? Aren't we demoralizing them? So what should be the ratio? Should it be a ratio of 70 in-house developed and 30% infusion, either from the private sector, from other areas, to blend it? So we must make some hard decisions. And those hard decisions can only stand if Parliament is with us. So, langu ni kuomba mtusaidie. Budgetary wise, motivation, what kind of legal framework should we look at? What should be the consequential amendments that we must look at in the law that we have? How do we focus on the young people? By the way, we have also engaged the youth. This team has engaged on what they're engaging various critical youth, young people on what they think should be part of our foreign policy. So there's a big issue, And we have this series going, and ultimately we also want to have an opportunity where the President will also comment and give his views to us as a nation on what he sees as his vision on foreign policy, so that by the time we are done, and we want then to present it to you as Parliament in the form of a sessional paper, and you in turn will also go through further processes according to the standing orders. We want ultimately to be able to say that this time we have a coherent foreign policy. We must devise, when should we review this? Should it be a 10-year cycle? Or what should it be? My colleague PS has talked about the diaspora angle. We must look at it critically. Right now, we are in touch with the World Bank, and they're saying that Kenya is now ripe for a successful diaspora bond if it is structured properly. We are getting close to 700 billion from the diaspora annually, but we have an opportunity that maybe in the next few years, maybe by 2027 or 2028, it might hit $1 trillion of inflows. It is now a critical factor in stabilizing our exchange rate against the hard currencies. So we need then to figure out what should be our policy position in these critical areas and translate it to a determined and deliberate foreign policy approach. So these are the questions that I thought we need to go into in depth, so that we can get reasoned positions, which we can truly say are broadly collective. There'll always be a divergence, but broadly collective in terms of how we move forward. So thank you so much for listening to me. I hope I've not spoiled your breakfast, but it was really to provoke you so that you can help us come up with a very, very good position, which can stand the test of time. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate and will value your support, not just now, but all through until the end of this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those thought-provoking remarks. Somebody was alluding that we could actually, for those who are from Foreign Affairs, give you a standing ovation because you have touched the core to the Foreign Service. But let's acknowledge again our Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary for those remarks. I think the questions he's posed here they are going to shape the discussions when you go to the plenary, and they will help us, particularly the team crafting the foreign policy, to be able to really enhance it. So with those, I want to invite Ambassador Lucy Kiruthu, who is going to take us through the presentations on the draft we have, and then after that she'll also preside over the plenary discussions. So Ambassador Lucy, and we had agreed that we'll have more time for the plenary to be able to capture more input from our honorable members. Ambassador Lucy.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Masila. Your Excellency, PCS, Honorable Chair of the Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations, other honorable members of the committee, PSS,